All right. Let's do the confirmation here. Good. And do the share here. So we hit that share button, we will be good to go. All right, we did it. Share. Quick episode. All right, with Car Talk. Good morning. All right, hello everybody, and welcome to MoneyShift in the Morning. I am Thanasi, and today we have 3 pieces of car news to go over. So 4 pieces actually. It's a relatively quick episode. Sorry, I was hearing double of myself for a second. So let's quickly highlight the cars that we're going to be going over today. What is this? Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. The first car that we're going to be going over is this guy right here. It is the Opel Manta GSE Electro mod. And then we got a little bit of news about the Kia EV6, which is the first ground-up electric car from Kia. And then we have some information about a spicy machine from Mclaren, which is going to lead into a wider discussion about if there's just too many damn special edition hypercar, supercar things. And then we're going to wrap it up with a little sneak peek of the Shelby Super Snake Speedster. So without further ado, let's jump into this week's news. The first car we're going to be talking about is, like I said, the Opel Manta GSE Electro mod, and I'm actually really jazzed about this concept. I'm hopeful that it's going to be something that actually makes it to the production floor. Good morning, Alexandre. How is everybody doing today? And just like Alexandre did, if you are watching the stream right now, be sure to hit that like button, follow, share. You guys know the deal. I don't need to say it every time, but I'm going to say it every time. Thank you for the like, my friend. Welcome. This is the Opel Manta Electro mod, and for those of you that know about Opel, this is like their 70s, 80s rear-wheel drive, front engine rally car, right? This is what they took rallying, this is what they took road racing, this is what they took whatever. This was the thing. The Manta was the thing. So Opel is using the brand's design language on the front end, which is similar to the Crossland. I want my... John, we're just getting started. What do you mean? Oh, daylight savings time. Yes, here in the States. That's actually a good question for folks not in the States. Do you guys have daylight savings time? I don't even know that. Like where you wake up the next morning and the clock is an hour ahead? Is that a thing outside of the States? Anybody? I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Someone will chime in. But what Opel says about this car is they say what was a sculptural and straightforward half-century design, or excuse me. Wow. That was, yes, it is. Okay. For Greece, it is. Beautiful. Cheers. I needed the coffee, apparently, after that sentence. Yikes. Some countries, says Sean. Okay. Got it. Good to know. Opel says what was sculptural and straightforward half a century ago still fits perfectly with Opel design philosophy today. The Opel Manta GSE Electromod stands there boldly, clearly, and confidently, and it starts a new adventure for electric emission-free that's full of emotion. I love this. So you guys have heard me talk about Clubhouse for a really long time, and really long time meaning like 2 weeks and a bunch of episodes, right? And effectively what Clubhouse is it's an online video chat service, not video chat, excuse me, it's audio only, but it's a way for you to just connect with other people in the industry, talk about cars, talk about whatever you want, right? So I've been using it to talk about cars with folks, and one of the interesting things and themes that's always come up is the fact that, we can hate on electric cars all we want, right? They don't provide the same sound. They don't provide the same feeling. They don't provide the same whatever. You name it, X, Y, and Z. We've all heard the list a bajillion times from, whether it's people in this chat, your father, your mother, whatever, right? Like we know people don't like electric cars. It's well known. Some people don't. I'm not really sure why, but anyway. What electric cars allow you to do which is brilliant, which if you're a fan of the automobile, you should be very excited for, is stuff like this, right? If you have companies that are building skateboard designs, okay, which means effectively a universal chassis that has the batteries and electric motors that has different bodies. Now you're getting into a really exciting time, right? Because you're bringing back the era of car design. Cars like this can exist because the skateboard's there. They don't have to build the chassis. They don't have to design the engine. They don't have to, because they have that already. Half the battle is there. Their main battle now is just designing something that can fit and be and work for safety regulations, right? Which obviously means that some designs won't be available, but it also ushers in a whole new era of just like a renaissance for design. Like, remember the coach building from the 50s, the 40s, this like earlier than that. The time where people would get chassis and build these beautiful custom bodies, right? Pininfarina, Gregario, like whoever. Like, now we're getting back to that era with electric technology where these companies don't need anything but the skateboard. They can just build the body on top of it. Hell, maybe we'll even get to a world where you have your electric car, whether that's this guy right here or the Kia EV6 that we talk about later, and there's a company out there that can sell you a body for it. Isn't that would be awesome? That would be really awesome. So I'm super excited about this. We'll definitely learn more as it comes out. This was just a teaser photo that Opel shared with us this past week. But what do you guys think about that? What do you think about, like, the ability that, in the future, what could become collectible for electric cars is the bodies, not necessarily the drivetrain. Like, you could live in a world where someone has 6 to 10 bodies for a similar chassis. And they could be one-off, and that could be what's worth the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million is a one-off, like, Pininfarina body that looks like a Ferrari bread van, but unique and new or whatever. You know what I mean? That could be the automotive collecting space in the future. I don't know. I'm excited because I think there's like gasoline cars are going to live for the majority of my lifetime. So we already have so many good ones available, like, I think that's also something that's interesting. The people that are anti-electric car, they're also anti a lot of new cars that are coming out. If you speak to someone that just doesn't like the electric vehicle, ask them what is their modern car today that they would buy. And oftentimes they're like, I'm not really, I'm not too much of a fan of the new stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of like the old stuff. Like, so if new gas cars weren't for you anyway, who cares if every new car is electric, right? That's the best thing to say to somebody that has that state of mind. Sean says GM had a skateboard platform maybe 15 years ago where they were going to offer truck sedan coupe bodies that were interchangeable, but it was hydrogen powered. GM skateboard platform hydrogen car. The GM autonomy? Is that where you're talking? Yeah, that's what you're talking about. No shit. Okay, here, let me do this. This is really cool. Thanks for bringing this up, Sean. Let me do this really quick so the folks at home can see what you're talking about, because this is definitely worth it. This is really cool. Hold on, I gotta... The stream box machine. Here we go. 2002, shout out to Sean Cannon again for bringing this up. GM released the General Motors Autonomy, which is a hydrogen fuel cell powered autonomous car that had interchangeable bodies. It was a skateboard platform right here that you could change out the bodies. That's really cool, man. This is it, the autonomy. That's dope. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, man. Alexandre says the ICE has around 40 years for sure. Some e-fuels will probably keep the cool stuff going. Instead of hating on EVs, we should see what is the best we can make out of them. Joe says, did you see the consumer car concept that's listed for same on Cars and Bids this weekend? No, we'll check that out right after we hit some car clip or a couple more pieces of car news here. And Alexandre says, now that is a cool idea for a concept. Yeah, agreed. Sean, shout out for that. for that concept. That was really, really cool. For sure. And it's, you want to talk about something that's aged tremendously well. It's a skateboard design that has different bodies, right? That's aged really, really well. But I really do think that that is going to be the commodity for collecting in the future, right? It's going to be who has that air-cooled body from Porsche, who has that 360 body, or even if it's new stuff and it's not just like copies of something from the 80s, 90s, or whatever. That's going to be really, really awesome. Super excited for that. Let's dive into McLaren, and let's have a little bit of a bigger discussion about special edition cars in general. McLaren has been pushing out a lot of special edition machines. We're talking about the Elva, we're talking about the Speedtail, we're talking about the Senna, we're talking about the Senna GTR, we're talking about the new Arturo, which isn't a special edition, it's just a new car. We're talking about the 765 LT. That's 6 cars right there, 6 supercars, okay? And now we got a 7th. It's this guy. This is the McLaren 720S GT3X. And what this car was able to do, or what McLaren says about this McLaren, is that this is a track car that is not bound by any regulations. Isn't that a Senna GTR? Isn't that a P1 GTR? How is this different? Okay, let's talk about the details of this car before we have a bigger conversation about McLaren as a whole. So this is a 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8, same as the 720S, same as the 720S GT3 car. Where this differs is it has 710 horsepower, which, by the way, is 200 more than the GT3 car, but the exact same figure as the road car, which, by the way, plays into the conversation of, holy shit, road cars are too fast. But anyway, it used to be the opposite. You remember that? You used to be driving in a car, okay? Let's say you had a Camaro, for instance, right? And you're driving in your Camaro, and you would always see in the IMSA days the Camaros that raced, and you were like, shit, man, I wish my Camaro had just as much horsepower as that from the factory, or like, damn, I wish my Camaro was just as fast as that race car. Now the person driving in their 765 LT is looking at a 720S GT3 and is like, fuck, I can dust that thing in a line. But anyway, it has an extra 30 horsepower available with a push-to-pass button, which ups the boost. This car has bigger turbos, bigger manifolds, blueprinted heads, and each engine is built by hand than the McLaren 720S. And it also has upgraded cooling, right? They wanted this thing to track literally at all hours of the day consistently. Thanks to a revised roll cage and packaging, you can also put a passenger seat in this, which is something that isn't available on the GT3 race car because there was never going to be passengers in that. But this thing, there is. Okay. So now that we've set the stage for this car, I want to talk about why I absolutely hate it and why I think McLaren is killing themselves. So what McLaren is trying to do is pretty simple, right? They want to generate a bunch of really, really special machines that not only create McLaren collectors, but also just net them more money for a similar design. Think about if you're a McLaren collector for a second and you bought a McLaren Senna. You bought a McLaren Senna because you thought that was going to be the pinnacle of track car for McLaren. That's what you were sold to, right? They came to you and they said, hey, Chris Shipman, hey, Sean Cannon, hey, John Raftery, hey, Alexandre Fertakis. Like, do you want the ultimate track McLaren? Well, I got the car for you. Look at the McLaren Senna. You buy it, right? You hook, line, and sinker. You're like, this thing's cool. It's got the right name. It's got aerodynamics that's functional. It looks sick. People can see my thighs in traffic when I'm driving thanks to the glass panel on the door. Whatever. And then 6 months later, they come out with the Senna GTR. Oh, you thought you had the Ultimate Track Edition? You don't. There's the Senna GTR. You should buy that. So you buy it, right? You're like, yeah, you're right. The Senna GTR. That's what I wanted. That's the ultimate track machine. My regular Senna, that's not it. I'm going to sell that thing. That car comes out. Okay. And 6 months later, a year later, whatever the timeline is, McLaren drops the not the Speedtail, the Sabre. And what's the Sabre? The ultimate McLaren Senna. So think about if you were a Senna owner, okay? Your car is now lower than the Senna GTR and the Sabre. So it's third on the totem pole. for a car that you spent high six figures, low seven figures for, potentially, right? That's no bueno. And then the other thing that's killing them, right, outside of this concept of consistently introducing cars that are one-upping the cars that they just introduced and pandered as special, is they're making a lot of these. So the Speedtail is a good example of a car that was supposed to be super limited. We're talking about like sub 20 models. And now I believe they've actually made a bunch of these things. Let me number production numbers. Let me get the right number here. Yeah, now they're building 100 of them. So it's like the people that initially bought into this, you know, that are like, hey, my McLaren Speedtail is going to be special. It's going to be production. Oh, no, actually, excuse me. It's gone to 250. More than 30 times. Oh, no, excuse me. It is 100. So you're sold that you're going to be like a 1 of 30. And then demand skyrockets, as it should, because the Speedtail was gorgeous. It was beautiful. What it was able to do was tremendous. And McLaren, instead of saying, nope, we're only making that number, made more. And I get it because they're trying to make money. They had financial troubles last year, right? They need to get everything they can when they can. But what you do when you do something like that is you dilute the product. Think about, they got to take something from like early days Supreme, right? Or Jordan drops or something like that, where yes, the demand for Supreme is high. Yes, the demand for the next Jordan shoe is very high. But what these companies do and what they know is that if they produce a limited number, the person that didn't get it will be interested for the next one. And the person that didn't get it will drive the price of that car up when it goes to the resale market. Do you see what I mean? And that's sort of how McLaren's shooting themselves, by either producing large numbers or producing more special editions. Like, think about if you were that person that bought a Senna GTR and you wanted something that was more hardcore, or a GT3 machine that you could put someone in, and then they come out with this thing. You're like, what the what are we doing? So yes, do I think this car is immensely cool? Sure. I love the 720S design. I think it's aged tremendously well. It still looks really relevant, and the car's incredibly fast, painfully fast. Right? And 710 horsepower, with all this aerodynamics is sure to be something that's like nutty. Absolutely nutty. I'm sure it's mental on track, right? But they have so many other ones. This didn't need to exist. They could have put that effort into making the next generation 7 whatever, the next generation 600 whatever, right? So I don't know. Alexandra says, that's why I didn't buy a P1 GTR or Senna GTR. Now, I think the P1 GTR is still special, but yeah, if you're someone that's buying these, it's definitely a tough hit. It's hard to be a collector for a modern McLaren, I feel. He also says, when you're done, I want to make a comment on the whole special cars thing for big names. Yeah, shoot it out as we go into the next one that we teased at the beginning, and that is the Mustang Shelby Super Snake. So quick note before we go into the full details of this car, right? This is a car that is sold by Shelby, okay? This isn't something you could buy or configure from Ford. Sure, there's definitely some dealers that offer this for sale, but this isn't like a Ford approved, like it is Ford approved, but Ford themselves is not selling this car. This is built by Shelby and then sold through some Ford dealers and Shelby. Okay, we got that out of the way. Let's talk about what this thing is. It is a Coyote V8, so that's a 5.0 liter V8 that is supercharged. The horsepower number is 825 horsepower. You can get this thing in a 6-speed manual or a 10-speed automatic. It is rear-wheel drive only. Duh. And the available options, all of which are showcased in this model right here, is a wide body. Look at that thing. Penske track suspension, rear seat delete with a harness bar. These things have 6-piston front brakes, 4-piston rear. There's only going to be 98 examples of them. Shelby says, from a styling perspective, there is simply nothing like it on the road. With the wide body option, it's a rare combination of sleek elegance and American muscle machismo. This is the automotive equivalent of a powerful heavyweight boxer fitted into a stylish, fine suit. And with only 98 available in the US, it will be ultra rare. And this plays into what we just talked about, right? Now you have a company in Shelby Yeah, right. At least when Shelby says 98, they mean 98. True. But what they're trying to do is make this thing an instant, like, rarity. Right? They're trying to make this the Supreme shoe drop, the Jordan shoe drop, Supreme shoe drops, the Supreme drop, the Jordan shoe drop, whatever you want. Right out the gate. By saying there's only going to be 98. This is super rare. You guys should buy it. When in fact, it's almost like giving yourself a nickname in sports, right? It's like, let's say I get signed up to the NBA, obviously because of my unbelievable basketball ability, and in my first interview, I'm like, yeah, T, big shot, Hakiadakis, what's going on? And they're like, what? What did you just do? What did you just do? And I was like, what? It's Big Shot. And they're like, I'm sorry, what? And they're like, yeah, that's my nickname, Big Shot. And we're like, nah, that's not really how it works. Like, we give you the nickname, much like the market sets the rarity of this car, right? There's plenty of machines, there's plenty of automotive like things that exist in really low production numbers, but if the perceived value isn't there, then just because it's a one of whatever doesn't mean it's going to be worth anything, right? So I didn't like that line from them, but I will say there is only 98 examples of these, and this is like the first speedster type concept that we've seen ever applied to a Mustang in recent history, right? Never mind one with the Shelby name, never mind one with 800 plus horsepower, never mind one you could get in an automatic with a wide body Penske system, blah, 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 blah. Right. So the car definitely has all the intangibles to be something that is worth a lot of money in the long term. But to see it set up like that, where Shelby says, and with only 98 models in the US, it will be ultra rare, is something that you sort of have to let the market do. Right. You're not the one that says whether something is going to be, special or not. Sean says, at least when Shelby says 98, they mean 98. And the Series 1 was a limited like that, too. I adore the Series 1 by Shelby. I think that thing was freaking awesome. We'll definitely cover that in a sort of like cars you've forgotten about episode, because I think that car goes very much so unnoticed. That and like the Panos Roadster, right? Very like similar ethos to those cars. Joe says the Shelby prototypes they made in the early 2000s were wild. The Series 1 and the GR1. The GR1 was awesome. Greek designer, too, if I remember correctly. Shout out to Alexandria in the comments there. Before we move on to the last one, if you guys are watching and have not hit that like button, please consider doing so now. It definitely helps growing the stream. And if you're enjoying Money Shift in the morning, don't forget to hit that follow button. We're usually on between the hours of 7 to 8 a.m. is when we start. Tuesdays, we do not do a morning stream because we do the night stream, which is a longer, more in-depth news. These are just daily highlights, so they tend to last between 30 to 40 minutes. The Tuesday night show can go well over an hour, and usually it does because we're having a conversation with everybody in chat. Some of the news here might be duplicative in the Tuesday night show. That's why I don't do a Tuesday morning show, but I'd be back Wednesday. Okay. With that said, let's go into the last vehicle that we're going to be talking about today, and that is the Kia EV6. Now, we don't have any of the details of this car in the sense that Kia didn't release anything. This was actually stolen. Someone sneaked these. Someone sneaked these, which is always an interesting concept. Like, I sort of have this internal dilemma of like, do I show leaks? Do I show things like that? Matt with the 200 stars, almost at 750 followers. Let's go. Let's go indeed. Thank you for that, man. Appreciate the support there for sure. And if you guys haven't seen and enjoy watching video game streams, definitely check out Who is Fat Matt. He plays like literally all video games under the sun and is a really, really good watch. So if you guys like video game streams, check that out. Matt, shout out to Matt in the comments. Really, really good stream there for sure. So this Kia EV6 is based on the Ioniq 5. So the statistics to this car, when it gets unveiled, should not be a surprise because it should be leveraging similar things that are already out there, right? Like they're not going to show this car off and all of a sudden give it a range that has 100 more than than the Ioniq 5, right? That would just be brutal to the existing car. You know what I mean? So let's take a look at what the Ioniq 5 is, and then we'll talk about the Kia's design in comparison to the Ioniq. Okay, so you can get 2 battery power plants. You can get a 50 some odd kilowatt hour or a 72 kilowatt hour battery pack. Your availability is either rear wheel drive or all wheel drive. Okay. If you get the fastest one, now you're talking 315 horsepower, 446 pound-feet of torque in the all-wheel drive with the big battery. That thing will do 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds, which, by the way, folks, remember, still fast. I swear, I say this every day, it feels like now, but a 0 to 60 time, guys, of under 6 seconds is fast. It's fast. Now, there's varying levels of fast, right? 2 seconds is faster than 3 seconds, which is faster than 4, faster than 5, faster than 6. But if you're driving a car that does 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds and you slam on the gas, you're going to have the same reaction. You're, whoop, whee! Oh, it's the popular TikTok song where it's just like, blah, 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 whee! It brings me happiness inside. A lot of happiness. Anyway. The range for the Ioniq 5 is somewhere between the 250 to 290 range, depending on which battery combination you get. So you're getting a good amount of range here, for sure. Interior and comfort. So when you guys are looking at this, it's almost tough to tell what the size of the machine is. Right? Because looking at this and looking at the Ioniq 5, you're like, is that a little hatchback? Because that looks like, a Civic hatchback or a Subaru Impreza hatchback. And no, this is actually a little bigger than a small hatchback. Think about this as an in-between size from something like the RAV4 to the HRV. So we're talking, it's in between the small SUV and the mid-size SUV. So it's a decently sized thing that should have immense levels of headroom and legroom on the inside and outside, legroom on the outside. Yikes. That's what we get with the morning show, folks. We get some qualms like that. So anyway, so it should have really good amounts of legroom inside. It should have good amounts of space as well in the rear, in the trunk, all of it. So this is going to be Kia's first ground up electric car, but it is based on the eGMP platform, so we do know all the details. So while Kia didn't show that or tell us anything, we pretty much know what the car is going to be. So this is going to be the first of 11 EVs that Kia has promised by 2026, which is really, really exciting. So I actually really enjoy this design. I think it looks like nothing else on the road. Overall, I think there's bits that are inspired from cars today. For example, if you look at this front end, it looks very similar in certain respects to something like an ID product from Volkswagen, but it looks a lot sleeker. Where the Volkswagen looks a little bit derpy, the Kia looks very streamlined. It looks nice. So this is the first car not only to showcase Kia's new design direction, which they're calling Digital Tiger Face. Hate that name. Look at that thing. But it's also their first electric vehicle in their quest to have 26 models. And it's also relatively unique and good looking. So I definitely like it for sure. What do you guys think about this? Would you buy this over something like a Tesla Model 3? Because that's probably what it'll be priced around and against. Or does that charging network still hold enough gravitas for you to keep you honed in to that Tesla product? Because for me, I would make the jump. I think it's worth it. It's a really, really good looking car. Shout out to Matt. Shout out to Peter for the likes. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it for sure. So for me, it's definitely worth it. I actually really do enjoy these cars. I'm a big fan of the Ioniq 5, actually, a little bit over this Kia EV6 design. But we'll see. Joe says, I'm still waiting for an economically cheap electric wagon. I think right now this is the closest you're going to be getting to that in the short term. We haven't heard anything from any of the car manufacturers about bringing sort of like an estate electric car, although that is something that would be a popular concept because they do sell well in regions like EU, right? But something like this, is going to be big enough to give you a lot of that utility you need, but also looks sleek enough so it doesn't look like, a BMW X3 or a Chrysler Pacifica or a Toyota RAV4, right? It has a very unique design to it, which is almost like the appeal, I feel like, of station wagons. But anyway, so it should have enough space, is I guess what I'm saying. But with that out of the way, Alex said that I wanted to talk about his point about special cars, so let's touch on that quickly. He says Lamborghini has 100 special editions, which pretty much only change colors, 0 rarity, actual resale value. McLaren, more cars than anyone can keep up with purchasing, then it's one after the other in the top spot. Agreed. Porsche makes some special models and sells it through the right people in the biggest part of the equation. Then they follow. That will kill the flipper market. Alexander says Ferrari has many base models through the last few years. Weren't anything really great, but were Ferrari enough? Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of all the models, Porsche definitely has the best ability to produce special editions, because not only do they not produce a ton of them, but when they do, it's limited numbers, right? We're talking about the GT2 RS. We're talking about the Speedster. We're talking about things like that, right? Peter says, I love how electric cars are looking normal finally. Tesla did a great job with that. Yes. Great call out, Peter. You're totally right? We're talking about a company in Tesla that while their design language isn't anything crazy, right? It's not supposed to be, because what Tesla's trying to do is mainstream the electric car. So not only are they doing that by building a vast electric structure where you can charge immensely quickly at any point in a lot of different places, but they're also giving you a design that some people lust after and that everyone finds inoffensive. There's no one looking at a Tesla Model S and saying, oh my God, that thing is crazy. Like they were a Prius, like they were an Ioniq, like they were something like that, right? So, and Tesla had no history. So when a lot of people say, I don't like Tesla's design. Why isn't it like Porsche or Audi? Look at Audi's new sedan. Audi's new sedan was great. Well, that's because Audi has a bunch of design language to call off of. Porsche has immense levels of history with thousands of concepts that they can pull on and still be original for a new car. Tesla doesn't have that. Tesla had to create something. Okay. So what they were able to do, which was make something that, like Peter said, looks normal, is special for sure. Joe says, the Dodge EV concept you shared from early 2000s was Fuego. Did you guys catch this? If you guys follow the Money Shift on Instagram or Facebook, you caught this. But for those of you that didn't, I'll forgive you. But I want to show you guys what Joe's referring to. Because, man, imagine if Dodge went in this direction for a second. Imagine. Let me show you guys what I mean. Hold on one second here. Let's see if I can do this correctly this time. Oh boy. Properties. Beautiful. Beautiful. We did it. We did it, Reddit. Here we go. We didn't do it. There we go. We did it. Haha. Okay. So what Joe is talking about is this guy right here. This is the Dodge Circuit. Okay. This was an all-electric machine from Dodge that came out in 2009. Okay, so 2009, if you remember where Dodge was at around that era, they had just launched the Challenger. The Challenger had come out in SRT form in 2008, and that was the first Challenger. So this was before the Hellcat era of Dodge, okay? Before they put that supercharged 18 bajillion horsepower V8 and everything, Dodge made this, the Dodge Circuit, which was an electric vehicle based on the Lotus Elise chassis. Right? This body isn't unique to Dodge. This is a Lotus Europa. And because they sold none of those in the early 2000s, none of them, this looked unique. And yes, Joe, exactly right. They weren't the only company to make an electric vehicle off the Lotus Elise. Tesla's first Roadster was also off the first Elise. Okay, so they weren't the original guys here. But what they were able to do was create something from an OEM that had OEM at the time, because Tesla was still considered, like a cheeky company at that point. That was kind of special, right? It used a 35 kilowatt hour battery, which, by the way, is immensely small. For the record, we just talked about Kia, which had a which had a 50-something battery at its lightest. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it had a 50 kilowatt hour battery at its lightest. So this one had a 35 kilowatt hour battery, one electric motor, 268 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque, 150 miles of range in 2009. Not bad. Not bad. 90 minutes, full charge capable. Also, not bad for 2009, right? Hour and a half, you got a full charge, and that full charge gives you 150 miles. Not bad. 2,650 pounds. For an electric car, that's impressive, even today. 0 to 60, 4.6 seconds. 4.7, excuse me. Think about where Dodge could have been. And they had meaningful plans to produce this car. Dodge was very, very excited to showcase the Europa to the world, their circuit, right, to the world. And they were very, very excited to start putting these in production because whoever it was that started writing this thing off knew that this was the key. This was the next thing. Right? Peter says a Lotus, a Viper, and a Dodge Stratus had a gangbang. Yeah, these taillights are all Viper, all Stratus, for sure. I actually really like the aesthetic. I'm not going to lie to you. I think this thing looks great. The Lotus Europa, really good car, super underappreciated. Lotus tried to make a posh Lotus Elise with like an updated interior and things like that to go right against the TT, but people just got in it and were like, well, the experience of getting in and out of this thing alone makes it not compete with the TT because of how much of an absolute bastard it is to just get in and out of. So they didn't sell any of them, and Dodge was able to use that body for the circuit. But anyway, think about where Dodge could have been today in 2021 if they produced this in 2009, right? We're talking about something that could still be around 3,500 pounds. You know, cars get heavier with age, right? And it would still be, you know, probably would have 300 miles of range at this point. Probably would be just as fast, if not faster, than that 0 to 60 of 4 seconds. And Dodge might actually be one of the leaders in electric cars. Instead, they put this on pause and they made Hellcat stuff, which, by the way, I'm forever grateful. All those Hellcats are amazing, whether it's the Charger, whether it's the Challenger, whether it's the Durango, whether it's the Jeep Grand Cherokee, whatever. They're all amazing. But think about where they could have been. They could have been here. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool to me. Pretty cool indeed. All right, and then the last thing, I believe Joe said he wanted us to check out. Of course, I just closed out of my window. Joe wanted us to check out a concept that is on Cars and Bids right now. So we're going to check that out before we close out the stream here. Is this the screen? It is. Okay, perfect. Let's do it. Cars and Bids, which, by the way, what are you guys thinking about all of these websites that are popping up now? I think Radwood just came out with one called Rad for Sale. The TFL truck guys have a website now where you can like sell trucks. A lot of people now are coming out with these auction websites, which is a bit interesting. Oh yeah. Oh wow. A Falcon F7. Interesting. That was a American built supercar that never took off. Yep. That's when they only built 7 of them. He said there was a concept here that we got to look at. So we're going to look at it. But as we go down, let's see if there's anything that catches our eye here. I actually really like the Cars and Bids platform. It almost feels approachable instead of Bring a Trailer. I've purchased a car off Bring a Trailer, and I got lucky that it was an underappreciated car, quite frankly. But it seems like, for the most part, every car that goes on Bring a Trailer is just crazy. But Cars and Bids, you know, you have things like a Maybach, but you also have things like a GTO and an S5 and a Discovery, right? So I don't know. It almost seems like a more approachable platform. Alexandre says, Doug has great cars on Cars and Bids. Too bad we don't get a similar market in Europe. You guys have Collecting Cars, though, which is really, really nice. The Collecting Cars platform is Joe, based out of the UK. It's a really, really nice website. He's done a really good job with that. Let me just Control-C concept. I can't find it. Where is it? Wow. See, like, yeah, Kia Stinger sold for $30,000. Ooh, this is actually a deal. C8 Corvette selling for 75. If you guys have seen these things on the used market, they go for like 80s to 90s or like 10K more than what they were purchased for. This thing is mental. Turbocharged ND Miata sold for 24,000. Great price. 5-speed manual Caravan sold for $8,000. Absolutely hilarious. Oh, I just passed it, says Joe. Damn it. Hold on. Oh, of course I did, because it's sold. Okay. Let's see. Oh, of course, I'm looking at recently ended. There we go. Live auctions. Here we go. Were you talking about the Falcon F7, Joe? On the main page. Okay. On the main page. I love this as well. Honda Accord Coupe with a 5-speed manual, 30,000 miles. Love that. This guy right here. Love that. Love that so much. And remember these, by the way, the Camaro Z28, 7-liter LS7. These things completely forgotten about, but they still pull good money. Love that. Lovely machine. 300D turbo diesel, also tremendous machine. I love this. My brother sent me this the other day. The Celine F-150 from 07, 450 horsepower pickup truck. Back when that was a lot of horsepower. Now I think like a, Power Boost F-150 makes in the threes. Oh, are you talking about this guy? The Consumer Car by Joe Reuter? Let's take a look at this. I want to read Dougie's description on this thing. Doug says, well, folks, here it is. The single weirdest car ever to land on Cars and Bids. Underneath, it's a Ford Festiva, but I'm sure that was chosen just for cost effectiveness, simplicity, and fuel economy. Beyond the platform, this vehicle is absolutely bizarre. A boxy shape that was intended by its creator to display the future of the commuter car, at least as the designer perceived it. This is a tremendously strange and interesting vehicle. I can't stop staring at the photo gallery. The Peterson Museum Provenance is also appealing here. Look at this thing. Do you guys think this is the future of the of the consumer car? Let me fix this here. There you go. Is this the future? This is... Oh, it's a 4-seater too? What the hell? No shit, huh? What the heck? This thing is tiny, right? Because it's a Ford Festiva, which is a really, really small hatchback. So to base the design off of that is really, really interesting. Wow, it's a mirror in the front. What the fuck must this thing be like to drive? Oh, it doesn't have light. It has lights too. Interesting. That's so interesting. Yeah, Matt says, I mean, if the future is driving a rear view mirror, then I guess. Yeah, totally right. Yeah, I don't know if I buy the this is the future thing, because if this is the future thing, then, the future is a world without rain where you can just get destroyed. But anyway. And this, by the way, is the Peterson Museum. If you guys have not been, the moment traveling becomes an actual thing, I urge you guys, head out to LA, check out the Peterson Museum. Its collection is always amazing. Oh, wow, what the fuck? This thing is wild. God, I want to just drive this thing, though. Just to see. Like, is it... Because to me, I'm gonna be honest. Like, just looking at this, like, I can hear how rickety it is. And I want to see if, like, driving that is a similar experience or if I'm just, like, totally off base. Oh, it does. That's where the rear light is. Hilarious. Of course. Oh, my goodness. What a ridiculous thing. Thank you, Joe, for showing us this. For those of you that haven't seen it, if you're interested, go to carsandbids.com and buy that sucker. It's at $9,100 right now. That's $9,100 too much. What's your figure? I'd probably pay $1,000 for this. Tops. Especially because it's based on a Ford Festiva. Joe says, T, you ever check out Collector Car Feed? Oh my goodness. Is that another collector car one? We'll close out with this one, Joe. Collector Car Feed. I know what I have is their tagline. Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Oh, so this is another place with listings? Oh, okay, so they show deals. Interesting. Okay, this almost feels like what Bring a Trailer used to be. You guys remember what Bring a Trailer used to be maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, where you would log on to Bring a Trailer and actually find like some hidden corner of the internet that had like a Lancia Delta Integrale for sale for like $15,000? That was when Bring a Trailer was awesome, when it was just a place to discover gold. Now it's, an auction site that makes a lot of people a lot of money. But anyway, yeah, this is pretty cool. I'll definitely have to check this out in more detail. There's a lot of nice machines on here already. Matt says, honestly, I think it's worth $10K just because of the exclusivity. People pay a premium for that. Yeah, I mean, this definitely looks like some ugly high-top Jordan shoe that someone's definitely willing to pay a bunch of money for, but I just don't understand the value. I mean, I understand the fact that it has value, but it doesn't have that value to me. This definitely feels like something similar. Joe says, old Bring a Trailer is what Rock Auto is today. Wait, you can buy cars on Rock Auto now? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Oh my God, the C4 Corvette in its destined color, this teal. Oh, so it links you elsewhere. Interesting. Okay, love that. Love this website. Check it out, everybody. Collectorcarfeed.com. Collectorcarfeed.com. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining Money Shift in the Morning. This was a little bit of a longer episode today, and I'm totally okay with that. Love hanging out with everybody. As a reminder, Tuesdays we are a night stream, 7 p.m. Is when that will kick off, and that stream tends to be a little bit longer, over an hour. We will definitely go over some of the news that we've gone over in some of our morning episodes. So if you guys are routine morning people, there might be some repetition there, but there's going to be a lot of different people in the chat, so there's going to be a lot of new, folks and new takes and things like that. We will resume the morning show on Wednesday, so you can find it between 7 to 8 a.m. I'm still getting into the swing of things around when's the right time. It's really just playing with the hour to have, to find out when we can get the most people engaged and how we can grow the morning show. So thank you, everybody, for the likes. Shout out to Matt with the stars and the follows. And I will see you guys tomorrow night. Have a good day. Joe says GME to the moon.